So you want to be a software developer and you think it's an easy route to making major money and to get you out of that career you hate so much.
I hate it here.
But let me be the first to tell you that you could be actually onto something. Software development has been one of the hottest careers to get into for the past few years, with thousands and thousands of boot camps popping up left and right, pumping out new grads like hotcakes and absolutely flooding the market. But that's where it's a little complicated. How can you stand out and get that first job beating out all these other junior developers? Because people are definitely getting jobs, even in 2023. Take a look at some of the people from the Odin project, from the Odin project success stories. These are regular people like you and me getting jobs every day in the software development after learning for free. Distortion here became a software developer after 9 months with a background as an electrician, showing us that you can transition from a blue-collar worker into software development. This person used to be a straight-up criminal, honestly. No offense, but hey, they turned it all around in just 16 months and wasn't able to make it out of the bin, literally.
God bless America.
And look at the story here. They didn't even have a degree and managed to get a software development job in just 82 days. How crazy is that, honestly? And these are real life stories that were posted a few days ago. It's all on the Odin Project Discord server, so go ahead and check that out. I'll try to leave a link in the description so you guys can check it out. So that way you guys can get some starting motivation. It's definitely been a great resource for me whenever I felt a little down on my journey as a software developer. Aww. What I really want to show is that no matter what type of background you have or what your circumstances are, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, you guys. Now let me show you some of the things I did over the 6 months to get my first software developer job. I did this video before, but there's just so much value I feel like I can give you guys, so I wanted to just go over some things that I didn't cover before that I can cover today. So let's get started on the video. First and foremost, let's get started with a little bit of my background. I graduated as a mechanical engineering grad from University in Canada. Spent 5 years of my life daydreaming about designing the next Tesla or just overall helping design the next big thing. Basically what any engineering grad would dream about. Instead, I ended up in construction as a project coordinator. So not even engineering. I feel like project management is where your hopes and dreams just straight up go to die. I mean, maybe not that serious, but definitely a tough, grueling industry to be in. I spent 3 long years in it and honestly feels like I wasted a whole bunch of my time. So around May of 2022, I took a trip to San Francisco. I feel like you guys know where this is going. I took a trip there for one of my friend's wedding. And honestly, it was definitely one of those things that changed my life forever. Obviously, San Francisco is like one of the biggest tech hubs of the world, and I got a chance to explore a lot of it. 2 of my friends were actually in the tech industry, and we were just generally talking about careers and how unhappy I was in mine. One of the guys was actually an environmental engineer and was getting paid very well for a tech company working in New York as a web developer. Hearing that definitely got my attention. How can someone with a background completely unrelated to coding get a job as such a big company? I really didn't think it was possible, and honestly, I had that on my mind the whole week we were there. So when I got back home, I jumped on the computer and like most of you guys, violated the YouTube search engine with questions like how to be a developer with no degree, how much do software developers make, best boot camps to go into, and are there really playground slides in Google's headquarters? You know, all the pressing matters that I had to get answers to. And based on my long time research, I concluded that the best thing I can do was to get into web development. It seemed like the best thing to learn to hit the ground running, and with free resources like the Odin project, it really made it easy for me. Now, what exactly did the Odin project teach me? It focused primarily on making you job ready for full stack JavaScript developer roles. Starting with the basics like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and really learning how to manipulate the DOM and things like that. I remember when I first started the DOM topic, I was like, no way, this is even important. Anyways, Foundations course, they also push you to use Git and version control, which is industry standard to be familiar with. So I think that's probably one of the most unique things about the Odin project that a lot of other places really don't have. Most other places throw up a built-in compiler in your browser and teach it that way. But no, this course teaches you start to finish to act like you're in the job. From setting up your Linux virtual machine to pushing your code to GitHub as frequently as possible while building those good habits early on. Before I go any further, let me show you one of the first projects I'd made under the Odin project so that you guys can get a good idea of the progression I made here. So one of the first HTML or CSS pages I made was a landing page for a business. Honestly, not bad actually. I think I learned about Flexbox for this and some styling from one. Not as bad as I remember honestly. The next thing I made was the most basic basic rock, paper, scissors games that I introduced some JavaScript logic that I had to use. Man, I thought I was a whiz at this point. I remember sending it to a bunch of my friends to just try out, and honestly, no one was very impressed. But just getting them to use it made me really happy, felt like I was getting somewhere, you know? Okay, now moving on to the actual full JavaScript full stack developer course. They continue on to get more in-depth with HTML and CSS, bringing you up to a more intermediate level. And then more into what JavaScript is all about. This is where we started learning about classes and objects and just a general overview of object-oriented programming. One of the first projects I made in this section was this classic tic-tac-toe project. Pretty much what every software developer makes at some point in their learning. Many of you thought I believed I was a whiz before. Just took it up many levels. Just look at it. Isn't it a beauty? Well, this was another banger I sent out to my friends to try out. Again, they weren't impressed, but I definitely sensed that they realized I was really taking this seriously now. Honestly, throughout your journey, it's great if you could keep someone you know in the loop just to keep you motivated, or else it'll get boring really quick, and at least there will be someone to hold you accountable. But yeah, moving on through the course, we learned about form validation and APIs, and I thought that was really cool. I feel like people throw around the word API a lot, just like in the real world, without knowing what it really is. It's definitely really cool to learn about it. And then came React. Honestly, once we got here, I realized how absolutely sick React was, and I realized how important frameworks are and how powerful they can be. And honestly, I got through that section as quickly as I could so that I could build a full stack application, which led me to the backend section. And honestly, with no offense, hopefully taken, the Odin project needs to get their stuff together when it comes to the backend node section.
It's bad? It's very bad.
Definitely didn't have the quality that the front end section had, but I believe after a while, since it's open source and free, it'll improve naturally. But yeah, I ripped through this section as well and built my first full stack application. At the time I was starting my NBA fantasy league, I was inspired to make something that related to the NBA. So I used my skills in React to create the front end, and for the server side, I used Node.js, REST, and MongoDB for the database to store the data I wanted. As for pulling data about the league and statistics and things like that, I used Sports Radar's API. Basically, this was an app that showed you stats for all players in the league, so you would just search up the player, and I'll give you exactly what you wanted. I also want to have some user authentication with it, so I use Password.js, which is an authentication middleware for Node.js. So people are able to sign in and use the app in a more personal way. Ultimately, I wasn't able to create the app I wanted because the API didn't allow me to make multiple calls continuously. So I wasn't able to save user data, stuff like that. So I considered this an unfinished project. But it was still a great project to show employer. Okay, now for the final phase of this master plan.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
All the while I was making this full stack app, I was actually applying to other jobs. And randomly I get an email from one of the companies I applied for. I was actually rattled because I was getting rejections left and right, and honestly it wasn't very surprising because the resume was lackluster at best, and it didn't even have this full stack application I had. It had like my weather app, my tic-tac-toe app, and one other one that I don't even remember. But I killed the interviews. There were 3 rounds. First was the general one with the HR. Next 2 was with the lead developer. I was able to show off the full stack application I built, and they were really impressed with what I had and ultimately gave me the offer that I have today. I was of course ecstatic about the whole thing. Like after just what felt like 6 long months of grinding the Odin project, I finally had an offer in my hands and it felt like a dream come true. And honestly, that's why I even started this whole channel. My success was something I thought I needed to share to the world and ultimately help you guys do the same. I know how frustrating it can be and how much you can hate the current situation you're in. But honestly, if you're watching this video now, it means you're already on the right track. You know that's gonna take action on your part. Now you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep grinding, guys, and I hope this video inspires you to at least go after what you want, because God knows these type of videos helped me when I was learning. If you liked the video, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button because I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the month. Thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.